Today is Friday, February 13th, and that means it is time for some new releases. We're going to start with three that have just come out that are above average or worth talking about, and then I'll show you 9 stories from new release news right afterwards. We're going to start here with probably one of the better releases of February. I think one of the better releases we've heard so far this year with Fossilization's sophomore full-length album, Advent of Wounds. This is a Brazilian band, a death doom metal band, an atmospheric death metal band, and a great one. It would make sense to compare their earlier sound to Crypt's, but they presented something that it's such a well put together record that even if we've heard it all before, this is just a cool thing. It's the kind of thing that I'm always grabbing for as a fan of death metal, and this form of it, which is atmospheric, dramatic, and intricate. Definitely check that one out. It is my highest recommendation of the week. It's kind of the pick. Otherwise, I think the number 2 pick for the week is Temple of Decay's Profanus. I don't know anything about this band, really. I just like the old Temple label, and I went to check out Profanus and ended up just liking it a lot. It's a black and death metal band, and just a great record full of riffs, what I'm always looking for. And I didn't see anyone else talking about this album this week. Third, we get kind of an unexpected pick with Vampiric Rites, Under the Tragic Full Moon of the Vampire. I've talked about this band throughout their evolution they've kind of changed with each release. They started out with something a little bit more raw, and now this is an album that switches into something which is much more evocative of a different level of quality in terms of production and moving away from the gimmick of raw black metal and now making what I consider serious black metal music that is pretty good and worth checking out. So first up with new release announcements. I think this has been announced previous in some regard, but I just found out about it today through Cruel Gates Records, a Spanish label who put out, I think, the cassette version of the latest Valmog album. They're helping to issue the final version of EXORCISED Fire and Sulfur. This is a death thrash metal band inspired by classic old school death metal. We'll get to the first song here that they previewed, Tortured on the Rack, and I'll talk a little bit more about what this is and why it's cool. I don't know that this is the most intense or tight playing I've ever heard on a death thrash metal album, but it is a cool sounding record. It's an interesting band. They had another band previous. Maybe I'll talk about that more when it releases. It's coming out next week in about 7 days on the 20th. Check out the song, see if that's in your interest, and keep it on your radar. And second up, we have the announcement of the, I think, debut full-length album from IGNOBLETH. This is I think, Italian death metal band, a bestial death metal band, a blackened death metal band. Their sound pretty interesting on this clip. We'll cut to about 15 seconds of warped abyssal architectures and see if it hits. I don't think the riffs are fully there outright with this first song, but I do think that it's all very well arranged. It's got that almost like mitochondrian-esque freneticism to it, but it's definitely a blackened death metal record from what I can tell based on this song, and that piques my interest. It sounds like an interesting band, so I'm looking forward to checking it out. From the Urn Records has announced a March 13th release date for FANGUS's debut album, Emerald Dream, and this is what they're calling a proto-metal and psychedelic rock band. It's a heavy psychedelic rock band. On this song, Shapeshifter, they bring in the keyboards in a way that I love. I think it's a very catchy song. I was immediately pulled into this album and can't wait to hear more based on what I've heard today. And from there, we have another Canadian band, RAVENSPELL, an epic heavy metal band, a good kind of power metal influenced band. Have a debut album on the way here. Onwards We March, releases on March 12th. And this song, Obsidian King, here is actually remarkably catchy. I thought it's just a kind of a good heavy metal song. And it was just along the lines of what I was looking for when I was cutting through emails. And I think this is going to be a pretty good record based on what I've heard so far in preview. And up next we have probably one of my most anticipated albums of the year so far. I've been a fan of TREPANNER since their most recent 7-inch release. This Peruvian death metal band will impress outright the moment that you hear them. This song, Blaspheming in Primordial Tongues, it might take a second to kind of register what's going on, but a pretty stellar band and something I'm really looking forward to. Prophecy Productions have announced this new album from A Forest of Stars, Stack Overflow in Corpse Pile Interface, and released a lyric video single, Ascension of the Clowns, to support it. Pretty interesting effort from the band overall. I would say that this is kind of, for a while they were a go-to name for people who are looking for something that was kind of psychedelic in nature, but also black metal. But, you know, it's British black metal, so it's usually just kind of atmospheric. Unique song and definitely unique art style used for both the video and the album cover. I'm curious about it. I don't know that this is the wildest thing I've heard from the band to date, but you can tell they have a lot to say in this music video. Worth a watch. Check out the lyrics and see what you think they mean. And I don't know if I'll review it, but we'll see.
We shared your previous regarding ancestry, failures and pits. Perhaps too soon for you to consider your children floating around the outskirts of all of this.
Silver Talon are a power metal band, I think out of Portland, Oregon, or kind of the Pacific Northwest in general. They've recently released a new single, Iron. They haven't announced an album yet, but they have announced a tour that goes along with it. You can check out their social media in terms of what those dates are. They're basically going from Portland all the way down to Austin, Texas. Great band and a catchy song here. Kind of makes me wonder what's in the pipeline here in terms of a new album. And if you're a fan of like Sanctuary and power thrash in general, and just a different level of power metal in kind of a late 80s style, check out their band. Surprisingly melodic otherwise, and worth a shot. And second to last here, we have Dying Victims Productions' announcement of the second full-length album from Spanish heavy power metal band WHIRLWInd. This band is kind of historically minded. They've got a little bit of like Running Wild in their blood, and I think they come from kind of a extreme metal background in what they've done otherwise. I really like that first record, but it could have used some refinement and some variety. It feels like they've brought that based on the clips that I've heard so far on this second album, so I'm excited to hear what this record is all about beyond its theme, which is the 30 Years' War. And finally, we have some Spanish death doom. This is a band that has ex-members of Hellvorn and Golgotha, and focuses in on an atmospheric, melodic death doom metal sound. And I thought this song was all right, so check out the Axiom Song for the Inert Part 2. Not much else to say. I haven't heard the record yet, but I thought this was decent and worth mentioning. Check it out. All right. Well, thanks for following along with the news here this week. Not the most exciting week for some people, not a lot of big names going on, but it is February, and there'll be some bigger releases in the next couple of weeks, both in terms of announcements and reviews. Check out the reviews from this week. A lot of really great records, some of the best of February reviewed recently. Check out the website